You're listening to the new Arizona Real Estate Matters Show with your host, Phil Putnam. And now, here's Phil.
Good afternoon and welcome to Arizona Real Estate Matters, brought to you by Empire Title Agency. I'm Phil Putnam with Empire Title, and the real estate market is chugging along. We've got some wonderful weather out there. People should be out looking at homes, buying homes. The market is not what the media may want you to think it is, and we're going to talk about that like we have been for the last few weeks. But we're back to normal. I will tell you that as far as the market is concerned. I've had numerous conversations with people, and we still refer back a little bit to the last 2.5 years or so, minus the last 6 months, because the last 6 months was like a correction period for the real estate market. But I think we're through that, and I think we're pretty much back to normal. We still have low inventory, which we need to get up a little bit. Beyond that, though, we're pretty much back to normal as far as the real estate market is concerned. That's for sure. So let's go ahead and get on with the show. Our first guest, our only guest today, actually not just our first guest, but our only guest today is Jason Grandon. He is with the GRANDON Group over at My Home Group. Jason, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Phil, for having me.
So normally I ask people to tell us a little bit about yourself, and I can if you like, but you've done a lot of things in your life, that's for sure. I mean, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff that you do, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But I want to talk to you about something I've talked the last 3 or 4, 5 weeks, I think it is. It's been a question I've had with all my guests, and I ran across an article. This was in early March, and I want to get your opinion. And it's just reinforcing, people getting the right information from the right people. Talk to the people with boots on the ground, people like yourself that do this every day. But the article I ran across, and I just want your organic opinion. I haven't told you anything about it. The article is called, "Is the Media Keeping Home Buyers in a State of Fear?" What is your opinion of that?
Without a doubt. So as we'll get into later, you'll find out what we do on our spare time when we work with some of these different campaigns. And the media is one of the biggest fear mongers you can possibly find out there. And it's almost like a joke almost that they're trying to keep people from buying homes.
Well, and one of the things that I've mentioned is that I'm not real sure if there's any agenda or behind this at all. I think they're just regurgitating information, sometimes old information, without doing, their homework. For example, just a couple weeks ago on a local media app, there was a headline of an article on that app, and it said the Phoenix housing market slows to a crawl. Is the Phoenix housing market slowing to a crawl right now?
Absolutely not.
And this was just 2 weeks ago on a local station's app.
Well, I think you're right on a couple points. One, the media does not investigate whatsoever. But two, we got to take a look at this too. Look at all the apartments, all the rental places that are being built. So if you look into the future, what's the goal here? Why are they building so many places for people to rent? I personally think they want people to rent and keep them away from buying. That way they can keep everyone right in Scottsdale, right in Chandler, wherever it may be. And we're seeing a lot of apartments going in.
Well, I that could possibly be one of the things. I mean, when I tell people, if you really want to know the underlying health of the economy, look around town and see how much dirt is being moved.
Right.
And right now, there's a lot of dirt being moved. When I was driving into the show this morning, there's 7 cranes downtown building buildings in downtown Phoenix. I don't remember the last time I saw 7 cranes down there working at a time. Big corporations don't spend a lot of money like that unless there is something profitable in the end, right?
That's exactly it. And to your point, the real estate market is great out here. Now, what we are finding is the person that has a 2% rate is probably not going to sell their house. So you're seeing a lot of the quote-unquote junk coming on. That guy has a 6%, 4%, 5% rate on their house. So you're seeing those hit the market. They might sit there a little bit. But my sister and I, we're finding that we're still in multiple offer situations in some cases.
Well, the low inventory, I think, leads a lot to that, obviously. But you are correct as far as that's concerned. I think it was the last figure, I don't have it with me today, but I know that I had it a couple of weeks ago, was that over 65% of all homeowners in the United States have an interest rate on their current home of 4% or less.
Right.
Well, when you got interest rates right now that are in the 5 to 6 percentile range, somewhere in there, it's hard to move, when you got that sweet rate.
Absolutely. I mean, why would you sell a house that you're paying $2,000 a month for to buy a house of lesser value and pay $4,000 a month?
Oh, absolutely. Now, one of the things that the app did say, on the article in the app did say, the real estate agents and experts are blaming interest rates for the slower pace market, which I do agree with that as far as buyers are concerned. But one of the things, and as far as sellers are concerned too, because again, going back to what we were just talking about, is why would you sell your house and have to buy a house at a higher rate when you have the current home at such a great rate? But one of the things that I have in talking to a lot of people, and I've been doing this is my 40th year in the industry, and you've been doing this a long time too. You get a gut feeling about the market.
Right.
If you do it long enough, you just have this gut feeling. And my gut feeling is, over the last 6 months of correction that we've had in this market, that now that we are at a certain interest rate range, and we've kind of been floating there for quite some time, that a lot of people are just pretty much, buyers and sellers have just resigned themselves to the fact that, hey, this is kind of about where rates are going to be or about. Don't you agree?
So sort of. So I go with a little bit of a different theory. And my sister and I, when we do real estate, we kind of take a back seat to the others. Oh, you got to buy a house, this and that. My attitude is, you are buying a house one way or the other. You're either buying it for your landlord or you're buying it for yourself. So give me 100% rate. It doesn't really matter. You're spending money monthly. You might as well spend it on yourself. The other thing too, Phil, is that right now, if you purchase a home and let's just say 7% rate, we kind of predict that the market's going to come back down normal, maybe 4.5%, 5%. You're going to make a lot of money in the next year. If you can ride that higher payment out for the next year, when it changes again, you're going to be sitting really pretty.
Okay, so you having said that, you have no idea about this next article I was going to talk about, and this one just came out yesterday, and the title of the article is Think Twice Before Waiting for Lower Home Prices.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people out there, and, I hate to say it, everybody, when they hear negativity, they react. And the negativity in the market is that rates are going up and the market is slowing down. Oh my God, there's a crash. Well, we're not seeing a crash. We don't foresee a crash. And all those people that were waiting for a crash, this article right here, Think Twice Before Waiting for Lower Home Prices, basically in November of 2022, 96% of all markets across the United States had a price decline. Now, price decline could be a penny. Okay,
right.
That doesn't mean there's a crash. Could have been $100,000 too, but 96% in November of 22 saw a price decline. However, only 3 months later, in February of 2023, 78% of those markets also saw a price increase.
No, and we're seeing stabilization here. We're not seeing big drops. And in fact, we have a lot of people with the other company we have, instantrenters.com. People are like, I'm just going to wait to buy till the market drops. Well, you know what? Hate to say it. I mean, I'm not a fortune teller, but in a year's time, you're not going to be able to afford that house you could get today at the 7% rate.
So when somebody says that to you, I mean, for those of us in the industry, I'm kind of an analyst when it comes to a lot of stuff in the industry, and I look at a lot of the numbers and a lot of the data, correct data, depends on where you get your data, but the data I look at is correct data, because I look at the data basically that is produced by you guys,
right.
The armless data. I mean, because what you guys are doing on the street is really what's happening. But I look at a lot of that data and I'm going, okay, this is my opinion of where we're going and how it's going to kind of pan out. And, a majority of the time we're right on. Yeah, there's little things that you can't, accurately predict, sometimes as far as rates are concerned, because there's a lot of underlying things that affect that. But when you talk to these people and they tell you, well, I'm going to wait for the crash, or I'm going to wait for this, one, who are these people? Where are they getting their data? And, it's like, how are you forming your opinion of that?
Well, so, and you have different personalities. So some people are just adamant. I'm going to wait for the market to crash and then I'll buy. Sometimes you can't even talk to them about it. You can give them all the advice in the world and they won't do it. Then you've got our other group, which we've been pushing lately. And those are the people that at some point in real estate, we lost, the realtors, a lot of them, kind of lost track of why we do this. And it used to be that you buy a house, you get married, you buy a house, you have a family, and you're in that house for 15, 20, 30, sometimes forever. All of a sudden, people come in, they're like, I want to buy my first house with my wife and kids, and we want to make sure we make 100% interest in 3 years. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, we're not buying a dream, we're buying an investment that's supposed to pay off in a year or two. So somewhere we lost track of that. And so we try to get people more on track that way. And then, it kind of starts making sense.
So you were running up against people that were buying an investment that just happened to be a home, as opposed to buying a home, which we know is going to be a great investment over the long haul.
Correct.
And that was very similar to one of the reasons people were buying a lot of real estate back in the early 2000s, which led up to a crash. The only difference is that if you could smoke a mirror, you were getting a loan. Now you really do have to qualify.
It seems like it. I mean, we've seen some wild people get qualified that probably shouldn't own a house.
That's interesting because I haven't. But, what's come across my desk is obviously different than what comes across somebody else's desk as well. But the mentality needs to change. Don't you agree?
Oh, without a doubt, we have to take a different approach. Real estate should not be, I got to find Johnny a house and get him sold on that so I can get paid my commission. It should be, hey, you know what? We are building a dream here. And you know what? If you can get 3-4% interest, which you're getting more on that on your houses now in any market, that's great. That's a great return. There's nothing wrong with buying a house, living in it, fixing it up, going to your job, and making it a home.
I mean, even with the 07-08 crash, that aside, over time, over the last 30 years, Arizona real estate has appreciated at a cumulative pace of 469% over the last 30 years. I mean, you can do the math and just divide that by 12, and it'll give you your yearly appreciation rate. So where else can you put money somewhere and make that kind of return?
Absolutely. And you know what? So should be part of the job of the realtors is just to kind of let people know this is a great investment. So
basically your job now is not just representing buyers and sellers, but you're having to re-educate buyers and sellers, aren't you?
Yeah, I think we're having, instead of, I hate to say re-educate because I think the buyers and sellers are actually pretty smart out there. It's just kind of...
But yeah, they're smart, but as far as re-educate them on like, hey, look, this is the market today.
Right.
This isn't the market from a year ago.
Correct.
Or 2 years ago.
Correct. Or from 08. A lot of them want to compare it, and it's not even remotely the same.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I find a lot is the consumer wants to compare apples and oranges. And usually when I run across a scenario like that, I'm like, you got to stop comparing apples and oranges because in this market, and this goes back to what I talk about, if you want to know what's going on in the market today, when I mean today, because yesterday the market could have been different.
Without a doubt.
And tomorrow the market can be different as well. So if you want to know what's going on with the market today, they need to get a hold of an agent who works full time in the business.
Without a doubt.
That's the thing. Is, give somebody like yourself a call, or some of the other great guests we have on the show. Of course, we'll get your information towards the end of the show as how people can talk to you. But we have a lot to talk about because you guys, you've been all over the place when it comes to the real estate market. When we come back, we're going to talk about your TV show called The Lockbox, as well as you also have your own podcast called the Arizona Real Estate Showcase. We're talking to Jason Grandon with My Home Group. We are going to take a break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Arizona Real Estate Matters, brought to you by Empire Title Agency. We're talking to Jason Grandon. He is a realtor and a man of many hats, that's for sure, over at My Home Group. Jason, so you have you have a couple things here that I want to talk about in this segment and possibly into the next one. Let's talk about the first one, your TV show. It's called The Lockbox.
Sure. So a few years back, so my sister and I were always looking for different ways to market, not the postcards and this and that. So being an Arizona native, one of the things that we feel is really important to people that move here or even leave here or whatever is to showcase Arizona. So several years back, we created a show called The Lockbox. And a lockbox is something that fits your keys in there when you put it on a house. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of symbolic for everything that fits in Arizona. So we go out once a week, a couple times a month, and we shoot various businesses, people, and we interview them, and we showcase those people on the show, and as part of the real estate market.
So is it all real estate related?
Never. In fact, it should be. But I've had every politician you can think of on there, business owners. And of course, we'll talk briefly about real estate. But the fact of the matter is, real estate, to me anyhow, is our community. It's the people we live by, the people that are making the community what it is. That's real estate.
Oh, that's true. That's true because we talk about, and this is the thing. And again, I think it goes to what you were saying before about changing the mentality of the consumer out there, the home buyer and of course the homeowner, is that the sporting events we have in Arizona.
Right.
For example, huge part of the real estate market, but we talk about it all the time on this show, but you don't hear anybody, I at least don't hear anybody outside of it talking about in real estate circles, how important all the sporting events we have in Arizona. For example, we've had, and we just had a Super Bowl, which
Right.
how many millions of people came into town for that? Okay. And they got to enjoy our wonderful weather. We have 2 NASCAR races a year. How many hundreds of thousands of people come in for that race? Not just the local people that go to the race, but how many people come in from out of state? We have the Barrett-Jackson auto auction every single year. Hundreds of thousands of people come in the majority of the people that are there are from out of state.
Right.
You have the Waste Management Phoenix Open, which is the largest attended golf tournament in the United States as far as attendance at the actual venue. Hundreds of thousands of people come in from out of state to enjoy our good weather. And probably the biggest one is spring training. You got 30 days. You got half of Major League Baseball is training here for 30 days, and their fans are coming from somewhere else to enjoy our weather. That has a huge impact on our real estate market, because every time you get hundreds of thousands, or like in the case of the Super Bowl, millions of people to come and visit your state, they're like, we've heard so much about Arizona, we've never been there, or this is the 4th time. Yeah, this is when I'm going to buy that home.
Absolutely. And they want to know what's going on in town. They want to know the good places to eat. They want to know the businesses. They want to know why this restaurant's one of our favorite places. It's not a chain.
And that's the thing, is that, so I actually worked the Super Bowl this year. That was my 3rd Super Bowl. I was actually part of the halftime crew, putting the stage together for the Rihanna halftime show. And there was about 350 of us that did this in this group, and the vast majority of those people from out of state. There's actually a group of people that do this like every year, and I could do it as well. The only problem is I'd have to travel to the other places. But this was my 3rd one this year. And in talking to them, in some of them, it was the first time they'd ever been to Arizona. They've heard a lot about it, but they've never been here, and they couldn't believe how amazing it was. And of course, they're asking me, where do you go eat? Because, they're in town for 2 weeks, because we trained for 2 weeks for this thing. And they're asking me, where do you go eat? And, and like, well, where have you been? And they're giving me chains. And I'm like, no. If you want the best Mexican food, in my opinion, it's 15 minutes up the road. Here's how you get there. Trust me, it's the best Mexican food coming from an Arizona native. That means a lot. And, that's the thing that, unfortunately, when people come here, a lot of people don't think that we have a whole lot of culture in Arizona, for whatever reason, because I don't think it's been showcased. We have a ton of it. The food here, the Mexican food in the Phoenix area is amazing. But, outside of the locals that live here, nobody really knows about it.
No, exactly. I mean, where else are you going to get a taco for 99 cents at Taco Bell? No, we do. We've got some great places, and a lot of it are those people that came here from Mexico or whatever, and they brought their culture with them. Arizona's fantastic culture. You can go to the Indian reservation over in Scottsdale off of Indian Bend on the weekends. They have Indian fry bread.
Indian fry bread, if you've never had it, is one of the most amazing things you could ever eat. An Indian taco if I see a place that's making Indian fry bread, not a brick and mortar place, I'm talking a stand.
Right.
It's just like me in a taco stand and that kind of stuff. I'm pulling over. I don't even care if I'm hungry or not.
No, exactly.
It's one of the best Indian tacos I've ever had was actually down at Santa Vera del Bac down in Tucson, because that's on an Indian reservation. Right. So right there in the parking lot, they're making Indian fry bread, and I'm like, I'm going. I don't care.
Oh, it is. It's great. It's great.
So when you're talking to these people, because that's the other thing too, the individuals that make up our state. They're unique as well. I mean, a lot of people know of, the big politicians like the Barry Goldwaters and the John McCains, but, some of the people that we have that are here now, is part of the fabric of Arizona. Being a native, you're a native. There's only about, a handful of us, that are really from here. I mean, yeah, we get some younger kids now because our population's grown, but people that are our age or even older, right. There's not a whole lot of us. That's the other thing too, is that when you're talking to these people, do you talk to them about the real estate market and about the growth in Arizona? Because I'm hearing that, right now there's a person moves to Arizona, one person every 6 minutes.
No, exactly. And we do. So one of the shows we did recently was with the Herbergers. And the Herbergers have Herberger Theater
downtown.
They built, Fashion Square. They built Kierland, all that. And so they're actually pretty good friends of ours. Judd recently passed away, but, we help out that family quite a bit. Those people like that, them, Bashes, my dad, in fact, Ed Grandon, they were all staples of the community because they helped build different things that are going. Westworld. My dad was a big part of helping build Westworld. Mayor Drinkwater, I mean, any way you cut it, even though Scottsdale's totally different.
Drinkwater is not just a boulevard.
No, absolutely not.
That's what a lot of people think. Oh, Drinkwater Boulevard. No, it was a guy.
It was a guy, absolutely.
Yeah, Herb was one of the most iconic characters in Arizona history.
Yeah, he was. He was fantastic. And one of the things that was great about him, he used to tell us, somebody would call him at 3 a.m, complained about something when he was mayor. So he would call the person back the next morning at 3 a.m. He says, well, I figured you're up.
Yeah,
like,
since you called me.
So late?
and that's the thing is those people that created what Arizona is today, and your father being one of them. Obviously, now one of the things that we always get a bio from our guests, and what I thought was really interesting is, and if I mention this to some of us old timers that have been in the business a long time, your father worked for Red Carpet Realty.
A long time ago.
And Red Carpet Realty it doesn't exist any longer. And we still have Century 21. And the reason I bring it up is because for the longest time, if you worked at Century 21, you wore a gold jacket. Mm-hmm. Well, at Red Carpet Realty, they wore red jackets. I mean, that was just kind of the thing. And Red Carpet Realty, it was a big deal in Arizona at the time.
No, absolutely. Well, this might be a question. I don't want to turn this around on you, but right now, realtors all work in their car. They work at home. Mm-hmm. Remember the days you had to go into the office and actually, quote unquote, work? Maybe we need to get back to that a little bit.
So, it was a huge difference. I, as a branch manager at a title company, I did a lot of my own marketing for years, and our marketing reps who worked for the companies who worked there, you could walk into a real estate office pretty much any time of day, and there would be at least 5, 6, maybe 10 agents in the office at all times. And I remember going to the Red Carpet Realty over on 51st Avenue in Peoria, is the one I would go into all the time. And that's the office I remember. And it was sure enough, 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 agents. You could sit there and talk BS. That's how I got a lot of my business, man.
No,
it's changed
absolutely.
so much. We're talking to Jason Grandon over at My Home Group. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Arizona Real Estate Matters, brought to you by Empire Title Agency. We're talking to Jason Grandon. He is a realtor over at My Home Group. Jason, getting back to the Red Carpet Realty, I used to be able to walk in pretty much any real estate office in town. You walk in with a dozen donuts, they'd be like, oh, great. Now you walk into a real estate office with a dozen donuts, and you might see a receptionist. You might, because they're, for a time, and I think they've changed that, there was a few offices that went completely virtual. You'd walk in and you'd talk to a computer screen.
Absolutely.
It was crazy. It really was. All right. So one of the other things that you do is you have a podcast called Arizona Real Estate Showcase. But before we talk about that, where can your TV show, The Lockbox, where can people see that?
So we had it up on the site. Now you can just kind of do YouTube, or you can go to the GRANDONGROUP.com and check out the podcast and the show. And they kind of intermingle with each other. Again, it's more about showcasing Arizona. I mean, we love Arizona. We grew up here. We're natives. We're watching it grow, and there's a lot of good things. And it's very important for anybody moving here to stay involved in your community.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely. In my office right now, for this month of April, a vast majority of our buyers, and when I say vast majority, I'm talking 8 out of 10, are all from somewhere else.
Right.
I mean, we're, the other 2 out of 10 were local. They were just, upsizing or downsizing, whatever. The other 8 out of 10 were, and a lot of them from the West Coast, a lot of Washington, Oregon, California. We've been seeing that for a few years now in Arizona. But, and when they come in to sign their docs, or if I'm talking to them on the phone, they've been here a few times, they've visited or whatever the case may be, but, they don't know a lot about Arizona. They know they're moving here because obviously for various reasons, one, the weather, or maybe it's more affordable from where they're at or whatever the case is. But, I love also, and that's, when I'm talking to them, I love sharing our state with people and,
absolutely.
and letting them know, hey, there's a lot more than just, a bunch of rocks and dirt. And yeah, by the way, you can go skiing every once in a while, a couple hours north of here. I mean, there's a lot more to this state than just that.
No, there is. And it's great watching people come in from the big cities. And especially if they're going out somewhere like Tucson or New River, got to give them a cowboy hat and boots. And they're like, what? Or the shooting ranges have become really popular, and people picked up that as a hobby out here, and they've never thought they would ever shoot a gun. They love it.
Yeah, no, outdoor life in Arizona, with the exception of maybe June, July, and August,
Right.
which we all, that's our winter. I joke, because I've had people that have said, how do you do it out there in the summer? I'm like, how do you do it in the winter where you're at? I mean, life stops in a lot of places. Our life doesn't stop. We just do it at different times of the day.
Exactly.
All right, so something else I want to talk about, and this is to me because I'm a huge concert guy. I've been to well over 100 concerts in my life. I think last year alone I was at 12. You used to produce a lot of concerts.
I did.
Yeah.
So prior to getting in real estate full time, I was fortunate enough to work for Planet Hollywood. I opened it up out here, actually across the street from the studios.
Yeah.
And then Hard Rock Cafe. And so the very first show I ever brought in by myself, I was like, okay, I'm going to pay for this show as a promoter, was 2 Live Crew.
I like 2 Live Crew. I had a couple of their tapes, believe it or not, tapes, and I say tapes because
It was tapes
we
then.
didn't have CDs back then.
So we brought them in, and so I used to do a ton of the shows at Venue of Scottsdale, which is no longer there. Minder Binders, Buffalo Chip,
Yep.
and a few, and the old Club Rio.
Okay.
So we did shows. But I've had everybody from Blake Shelton, Fallout Boys. I get them on the way up or the way down.
Yeah.
Like we just had Faster Pussycat a couple years back.
Well, when you're doing venues, like one of the things in your bio says it's basically concerts in venues under 2,000 seats.
Correct.
Yeah, so you're talking about people that have, they've already played the arenas. Now they're doing the other. Matter of fact, and I'm going to go to the concert. REO Speedwagon's going to be here in November. They're playing Celebrity Theater.
No, exactly. So 5,000 people, and they're not as expensive to purchase as you would think. Now getting out there promoting the show is a different story.
So let me ask you this, and this is just my own curiosity. I've actually looked into, just for shits and giggles, I've looked into what it would cost to book somebody.
Right.
Okay. And, I'm a big mid 70s to late 80s rock fan. That's, from the Led Zeppelins and, of course, Queen and Foreigner all the way up until the late 80s with, the Poisons and the Rats
Right.
and all those guys. That's my genre. I love that kind of stuff. So I actually looked into one time, and I'm a big Journey fan, what it would cost, and this was a while ago, what it would cost to book Journey to come to your place.
So most of those are tours
Yeah.
that are bought by a corporation. So those ones are big. I mean, you're talking 20. They still sell out 20,000 people venues.
Yeah.
So those are going to be, probably $150,000, $200,000, $300,000 a show
So that's, as a producer, that's what you would have to pay them
Correct.
to come play your show.
to play the show.
Now, do they get a piece of the gate?
So usually you'll cut a deal. So for example, one that you might like, and this was several years back, I brought in Leif Garrett.
Okay.
Remember him?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So I paid like $2,500 for him. We had him at the Hard Rock Cafe. So the deal was guaranteed $2,500, and then he got like 20% after all expenses were met.
Yeah.
So it works out. They always have their hand out, and they get a piece of it.
So maybe we'll talk about this a little bit more. So I'm just curious. So you pay the talent to show up.
Right.
They get a percentage of maybe the gate. They've got the merch to sell.
You get part of that.
And then of course, you might have to put them up in a hotel or something, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you
There's
have to
a lot
pay
of
for all that.
expenses.
We're talking to Jason Grandon. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Arizona Real Estate Matters, brought to you by Empire Title Agency. We're talking to Jason Grandon. He is with the GRANDON Group over at My Home Group. Jason, like I said, you wear a lot of hats. You got the TV show, The Lockbox, the podcast called Arizona Real Estate Showcase. You've been involved in the entertainment industry. Now you're doing obviously real estate full time. You and your sister, is she based out of Flagstaff?
No, she actually lives in Williamson Valley in Prescott.
Oh, well, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so
up
we
in
have an
Prescott.
office up in
Okay,
Prescott
gotcha.
as well.
Okay. So you guys work together. And you guys have a website called instantrenters.com.
Instant Renter.
Excuse me, Instant
Renters.com.
Renters, not
Right.
instantrenters.com. Tell us about that.
So about I don't know, 18 years ago, my awesome wife, I've I don't do drugs, I don't drink, I don't smoke, but I'm very high energy. And so she's like, you've got to do something every day. And let's face it, in real estate, you're not selling a home every single day. So she created.
Some agents will tell you they are.
Oh, some will tell you that and as they pull up in their car that's barely running. So we created instantrenters.com. And the whole idea behind it was not property management, but it was to give people the idea, how to teach them how to live in a home before they buy. So they can rent a home. They call up, they're like, Jason, I'm moving from California. I need a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Where do I want to live? And as you know, Phil, every area has a different personality. Mm-hmm. So if you're moving here and you've never lived here before, what a better way to figure out an area than to rent for 6 months to a year. So we created instant renters, and people call and we find them rentals, take them out, show them, and then we have that person in our database a year from now so we can sell them a house.
It's funny you say every area has its own personality. I live out in Surprise, which, at one time was probably 90% adult community. And now that Surprise has grown, over time, it's probably now 50-50. 50 is the regular, residential market, and then 50% of it is the adult communities. And one of the biggest complaints I see on some of the Facebook pages on them as far as Surprise is concerned is all the new people moving in, and they complain is like, why nothing's ever open after 9 o'clock out here. And I chimed in one time and said, well, yeah, but that's because 50% of our population in Surprise eats dinner at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's just, you're right. It's every Surprise has its own identity, and Scottsdale, of course, we all know about its own identity, but even the communities within the cities have their own identity.
Absolutely. You can go a block and it's totally different than a block around the corner.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it's instantrenters.com.
Correct. It's 100% free service we offer to help people find a rental. And that's the other thing too. Renters at some point are going to become buyers. And many realtors will not touch renters, but what a better way to meet somebody. First of all, I don't have 100 realtors attacking them to get their business. And then also you're building a relationship with them about the community.
I know a couple agents that they don't really actively market because they have a steady pipeline of clients that were cultivated through the rental market.
Correct.
That they rent, because they don't turn to, so they'll rent, 10 homes a year. Well, those 10 renters then become buyers down the road.
Absolutely.
And they've built their business that way.
Yep.
What a better way to do that. And not only that, but if you are a renter and you have to rent, I don't believe anybody should rent, but there are times where you need to. I get that. When I say I don't think anybody should rent, because I think home ownership is obviously the way to go, but
Absolutely.
Not everybody at that moment can be a homeowner. However, if you are a renter, you should, if you went to Jason's site, instantrenters.com, and you rented a home, he is a resource for you to become a buyer in the future.
Absolutely.
And you can hold their hand and say, look, you want to be a homeowner? This is what you need to do. A, B, C, and D. In 12 months, when your lease is up, you're going to be a homeowner.
That's right. And you obviously have to pull credit on everybody. So we have some of our lender partners, which there's some great lenders out here, and they'll put you on a roadmap.
And that's the thing, is that, everybody should be a homeowner. And by, going to instantrenters.com, becoming a renter first, because that's the path you need to go, and then, basically leaning on Jason's expertise and his tutelage, then you can become a homeowner to build long-term wealth. That's for sure. All right, Jason, so let's talk about, the market. As far as what you're seeing, we've talked about, is the market crashing, or is it, slowing down to a crawl, like has been mentioned through the media and that kind of stuff. We all know the market is actually pretty darn good right now.
The market's great. So let me ask you, are we going to talk about from the realtor standpoint, if it's crawling?
What do you
or
see?
From the buyer standpoint?
Well, I want to talk about both, because I want to hear what you're seeing right now today in this market. Let's talk about buyers. So what are you seeing right now as far as buyers are concerned? Now, we know that interest rates have gone up.
Right.
From where they were at the super historic lows of 2.5% to 3%. Right now, rates are in teetering around the low sixes. Maybe with a buy down. We can do the 3.2 buy down, that kind of stuff, to get you down into the fours and even the threes if you want to, with a 3.21 buy down. But you're talking just a straight 30-year fixed mortgage. We're talking the low sixes, which by the way, guys, from a year ago is really not that far off from where they were at just a year ago.
Right.
But what are you seeing today as far as the mentality of the buyers, and what are buyers doing in today's market?
So I would say it varies. So from 0 to, let's say, 400,000, it's a different person than the 400,000 to maybe 800,000 and up. So each one has a different personality. But let's hit the middle market. They're more, they have their jobs. They know what they want to do. We're seeing a lot of people. We're seeing people that are coming in. Now, one thing we're seeing is that they're taking their time. They're not having to rush like 6 months ago.
They're not forced to make a decision right now.
So now they can sit there and say, okay, I want to spend $500,000 on a house. They don't have to jump on it right away. They can kind of go home, have dinner, think about it, and then call back later that night so you can write an offer.
So are you seeing the offers that buyers are making where, again, we're referring back because our memories, everybody wants to remember the good times.
Oh, absolutely.
And so when the market was going crazy for sellers especially, that's what people remember. But in a normal market, which I firmly believe that we have 1 foot into a normal market right now and the second foot's just about to jump in. So we're pretty much back to normal. But as far as buyers are concerned, are you seeing buyers that are asking for seller concessions, and are you getting those seller concessions?
Again, in the low, yes, we're getting the seller concessions probably 95% of the time. We just had one the other day. It was on at $495, ended up selling at $580. The house was great, and that's. You're going to see a rat race on the houses that are really nice.
Yeah.
But yes,
9 and are priced right.
And priced right. Correct.
I'm sure, and we'll talk about that, but I'm sure there's still sellers out there that think they can get what their neighbor got a year ago.
Well, and the realtors that take those without educating their sellers, it's kind of hurting the market a little bit. Hey, Mr. Seller, sell your house for $1 million when it's only worth $850.
Yeah, and it's sitting, and it's sitting,
exactly.
and it's sitting, and then you see price decreases on Facebook and all these places, and that's what leads to people going, oh, the market's crashing, everything's going
Correct.
down, when in fact it wasn't priced right in the first place. So let's go back to the buyers. When I would say lower end market, but the $400,000 less market. A lot of people talk about affordability that, we've gotten out, it's gotten out of control here in Arizona, but there's still a whole ton of homes, $400,000 and less.
There is. And right now you're going to be paying roughly $2,700 a month for a $400,000 house. Mm-hmm. You can't find a rental for that. That's that nice.
No, you can't. Matter of fact, they're building a rental townhome complex right next to my office, and somebody dropped off a flyer. And this is, guys, I'm not kidding you. This flyer for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath townhome, the rent started $2,600 a month in Surprise. This isn't Scottsdale, guys. This is Surprise.
Yeah, because Scottsdale, it's a 1-bedroom, 800 square feet, and it's $2,500 a month. It's crazy. If you can figure out a way to buy, because, like I said, you're buying a house one way or the other. It's just a matter if it's going to earn you equity or your landlord.
And if you're renting right now, not saying that you shouldn't rent, because you offer that to people too, offer that service through instantrenters.com. But if you have to rent, that's fine. But the moment you can be a buyer, you need to do that, because if you're not, you're kind of throwing your money away.
Without a doubt. Absolutely.
So let's talk about on the sale side of it. We refer back to the re-education of buyers and sellers. I don't think the re-education of buyers is so much prevalent, because buyers are buyers, and they're kind of pleasantly surprised when they realize, hey, I can buy a house, and my payments are not going to be outrageous, even though I'm hearing about rates going up. But I think the re-education part of it, I think, has to lean more towards the seller side. You've talked about an agent not educating their seller, by taking a listing that's overpriced. Are you running into potential sellers that do believe that their house is worth what somebody, sold their house a year ago for?
We do. And honestly, too, you have to sometimes put your foot down and not take those listings. In my mind, it hurts the market. So, one thing that many of the realtors, and there's some great realtors out here, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But you've got to know how to market. And there's a lot of realtors that take a listing, and honestly, this is a dirty little secret in this industry, because they depend on the title companies like Empire Title, like you guys, to pay for all their marketing. There's some realtors that don't have any money for marketing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're marketing your house correctly, you're going to be dropping a couple $1,000.
Well, let's talk about your marketing. Let's say you get a call from an agent, or a seller, and they want to list their house. I mean, one of the things in your bio, as you mentioned, is that your marketing is the best.
Oh, we have great marketing.
So what can you do for a seller to put their house, instead of in the middle of the pack, all the way to the top?
Well, first of all, it doesn't matter if it's a trailer or a mansion. It doesn't matter. Everything's full color. We always use, you'll never see any of our listings with a paper flyer. So we always use high-end marketing stuff. Every property we list gets a trailer, so it looks like a movie production. Has the screen coming up, and it's just action-packed. And then also, it's a matter of calling every agent in that area and letting them know your house is for sale. Realtors got away from working with other realtors, and that's what we need to get back to. Hey, Joe Blow, I got a house listed in your neighborhood. I see you have one. Let's do a co-op open house, or let's do something together and start marketing together.
You know, I'm friends with a lot of agents on Facebook, and one of the things I'm starting to see right now is agents, you know, they obviously post their listings on Facebook, that kind of thing. But in the message section down below, as I see other agents chiming in with those guys going, hey, give me a call. I might have somebody for you.
Right.
You know, the old networking is back. And I'm not talking about between agents in the same office. I'm talking about agents in other offices.
As it should be.
Yeah.
As it should be.
But that went away for a while because you didn't have to do that.
No, we lost our way. And you still need to, you know, one of the big things I tell our team, hand out a card. If you're not handing out 250 cards a month, you're not doing your job. Get away from this texting and stuff like that.
Even, yes, you know, things going digital have their advantages, but I think what we kind of went overboard with that. I think it needs to find its place, you know, as far as digital is concerned. Nothing replaces a handshake. Nothing replaces looking at somebody eye to eye, face to face.
Right.
You know, even younger people who are more geared to the tech stuff, they still appreciate that. They still appreciate somebody telling them the truth, face to face, saying, look, from here's how it's going to work, A, B, C, D, and E, and at the end, you're going to own a home. Having to read into somebody's text or read into instructions, well, you know, these young people that might think they know how to buy real estate or they might know what the process is. No, they look at it and they kind of know, but to have somebody sit down and honestly tell them, look, this is how it's going to work, this is how it's going to happen, they appreciate that.
They do, absolutely. And it's a great way to build relationships with people.
Yeah. So, you know, even though tech is going the way it is and AI and all this other stuff, nothing beats just sitting down with somebody face to face. That's for sure. So what do you see? And this is something I'm not going to ask you to, you know, as far as mortgage rates are concerned, but, you know, you obviously know what's going on with the market right now. Right now, I ran across an article that said 5.5% might be the magic number for mortgage rates. In talking to people, do you think that, and I think we're going to get to that point of 5.5.
Right.
Do you think that's going to help a lot with some of these buyers you've talked to?
I don't think so. I think as we start talking to them, they're just going to realize, hey, I want to spend. People buy a house based on what they can afford a month. Yeah. So if the interest rate's 100%, they can only afford $5,000 a month, for example. That's what they're going to pay.
And that's the mentality of it. That's
right.
People need to get over that as far as rates are concerned. They just can say, look, if the payment fits, let's do it. Jason, how does somebody get a hold of you?
So you can go, you can reach me and my sister. And again, she handles the northern part of the state. And also for the realtors, we offer a 50% referral fee to those agents that don't necessarily doing this full time. But you can go to thegrandongroup.com. Again, that's thegrandongroup.com. I answer all the emails, so come check us out.
And how about a phone number for you?
480-276-2954. Try not to call me after midnight.
So if they call you at 3 in the morning, you're going to return the call at 3 o'clock in the morning the next day.
That is correct.
That's Jason Grandon. He is a realtor over at the Grandon Group. His broker is My Home Group. Jason, thank you so much for being on the show. And another great show, and we will talk to you guys next week.